From the world of AV programming and control with James King, I'm Steve Greenblatt, and this is Ask the Programmer. Hey, James, good to be back with you. And we're back with another familiar face and a good friend with us today.
It's great to be back as always, Steve. And he dropped a lot of great knowledge about HEPMA last episode. And it's great to have Joe Way back and see what he has to give us this time.
So welcome, Joe. For those who haven't listened to our previous episode, Joe Way is with USC, and please tune back into episode 53. You can learn a lot about Joe's background as well as HEPMA, the Higher Ed Technology Manager Alliance, I believe. And we talked a lot about that and building community, but welcome, Joe. And we're going to talk a little bit more about your role at USC.
Great. No, thank you very, very much for having me. Yes, I am for those who didn't listen to the last one, which is shame on you, you should go back and listen to the last one. I'm the Director of Learning Environments at the University of Southern California here in beautiful, sunshiny Palm Tree, Los Angeles, and overseeing the design, installation, support, and programming teams for our 500 plus-ish general use spaces across the enterprise.
What a lead in. So what we wanted to talk to you about today, Joe, which is we think is really admirable, is how you have been able to do some really groundbreaking work with USC and do some things that are outside the box with programming and programmers that may have come a little bit unconventional, but talk about how you have interfaced with programmers successfully, and what did that look like, and how did that work? Because we've talked a lot on the show about some of those challenges and the differences between management and programming, and I'm sure that you have some great stories to share with us.
Yeah, boy, this is an interesting one because I am not a programmer at all. And I won't pretend to be, nor play one on television, because I couldn't even understand what you guys do. To me, C# is a note on a musical scale, not a programming language, right? And so I think the key is, and we have done a lot at USC, and I'm really proud of what we have done, because we moved from a traditional legacy hardware-based platform to fully software, cloud, AV over IP technologies, where if we had a software version or a server or a cloud version of something, we did it as opposed to a hardware version. But here's the thing. I had that vision that I wanted to do that, but I'm not a programmer, right? I just knew that's the direction that we're moving in. That's why if you're going to be a programmer right now, you are in a great place, because we know this is not just a direction of AV, it's a direction of the world. Right. And so I decided that I wanted to make that our vision. I had to bring in people who knew how to do it, because I don't. And so working with our programmers, kind of the key to success is trust, and me presenting my vision, but them the space to fulfill it. Right. I always saw myself as a leader that I can either tell someone how to do something, or I can give them a framework for what I want the result to be, and not tell them how to do it. Just tell them this is the goal you have to get to, right? And I think that that's what's been successful, is our partners who have brought in all the programmers on the staff who also have bought into the vision and love the challenge for it, right? Because it's exciting. The things I see them doing is just crazy. It blows my mind. And I've gotten more respect for programmers since I decided to move to a software server cloud-based ecosystem than I ever had before in my life. And so it's pretty cool to say. And I don't even know if I answered your question, but there you go.
Well, I'm sure we can get into some more detail with it, but I think what you just said is the important part, is that you provided the inspiration and the direction, but you got their buy-in, and you made it, I think, fun and interesting and challenging. And that's not always for everybody. But it sounds like you found the right people that could really fulfill that vision, but also took ownership and found it to be something that really inspired them.
Yeah, absolutely.
James, maybe you want to step in a little bit here and talk a little bit about, what we have expressed in the past about, how programmers are wired a little bit differently, and how we kind of need to understand what buttons to push and what not to push successfully when it comes to programmers, and how somebody with a little bit different bit of a personality or not understanding could really rub somebody the wrong way.
Yeah, thank you, Steve. So what I going off of that, like you were saying, you got their trust or you trust them. As a manager or a supervisor, like you said, you don't know programming. It's nothing you undertook before, but you had this vision. And so how did you know, why you were giving them the framework and giving them the trust of what you wanted to do, that they were actually following through with that vision, and how you get that buy-in? That's what I find very interesting in.
Yeah. I was also blessed. I got to kind of pick my team. So I would say that I picked people over skills. I don't know if that's good or bad in the programming world. I don't. Um, because I also had a thing, when I was pulling in the team, and I was blessed that I'd be able to do that. I really said to everyone, look, I knew what, I mean, I'm not so far out of it that I don't know what Crestron programming is. And I don't know, and I don't know Extron. Like, I know enough that these are the certifications you need to show that you've got to a certain level. Right. But it was also, well, do you have that extra kind of quote unquote full stack? Do you understand these other things that I don't even really know, but I know it's a good buzzword and I'll throw it around. And if you like, go ahead, that sounds good to me. But what I really wanted was people who believed in what we were doing, because I can send you to class to learn the other languages. We also have student workers. I mean, we've got 5 or 6 student workers who are master's levels computer science people who can go and drop the code in every day. Like they do this stuff in their sleep. Right. And so I think that was more about saying, I want us to do something special. I'm going to trust that you know what you need to do. If you don't, then you just come to me. I mean, I was inventing a system that didn't exist. So I couldn't expect that the people I was hiring actually were experts in it. I needed them to understand the buy-in, that it's the customer that's important. What's the end goal? We'll all figure out how to get to the end goal. I can get you the resources to get to the end goal, but can we get on the train together? And like when I was hiring the programmers, I said, look, part of what we're doing isn't just about, and in fact, I actually remember saying this when I hired my most recent programmer. I said, if you're sitting there 8 hours a day and just coding, then we're not doing something right. I need at least 1/3 of your time being research and development. I want you out there just doing crazy stuff. I want you challenging us. I want you playing around. I want you pushing the envelope and have fun with this. So is 1/3 of it going to be this room went down, I got to redeploy it and I got to push code? Sure. Is 1/3 of it writing a module or doing whatever for this or this? Sure. But that other third, that's where we're going to keep pushing the envelope, because once you get on top, we got to stay on top. And I think that's really what draws the excitement. If I talk about my programmers, that it's not just they show up, they sit at a desk and we're going to code until my shift is over, right? It's always pushing the limit of what can we do with it? Now that it's there, what else can we do? And I know that as if you're working for a company that you're paid just to deploy systems, well, maybe you don't get that same, freedom. But there is a sense of, talking to your boss. So if I wanted to give advice to a programmer, go talk to your boss. Here's what they're looking at. They're looking at what can they sell next. Okay, plain and simple. They want to know what they can sell next. Get that, push the limit. Tell them, like, look, this is the direction things are going in. Let's get these skills. Let's try these, because we can provide better service. And that's more you can end up selling, and keep pushing your own limit. And I think that that's what does it. And then finding that, that cohesion between your management and yourself.
I mean, that can be very inspiring and very, very, very much pique a lot of people's interests. How do you feel that your team improves other than that, are they using resources internally to do that? Do they look outside? We're always looking to find how does our community grow and get better?
I have no idea. You know, I have a P card, and when they need to buy things, they go buy it. That's pretty much how we do it. Because here's the thing: as a leader, I don't know what you need. In fact, I don't know this from the top down. I view myself as a director. My job is simply to open doors. I'm not going to tell you how to do your job, but I'm going to open a door for you to do it well. And so as long as we have a relationship where you can come to me to tell me what you need, I'm going to trust you. And I'm going to trust you until you prove to me that I shouldn't trust you. Right. And I don't know. And maybe that's naive, but it's just, it's my management style. Cause I can't tell you, I'm not in your realm, right?
Sure.
I think that management style works for you. It sounds, I mean, as a programmer, that's kind of style I would like. I'm sure I would love to hear from our listeners if that's the kind of style you guys like, or do you like a more, sit at my desk and program this 8 hours a day? But I know me personally, I would love to get out there and push the envelope. And I mentioned this numerous times on the episode. I have side projects I'm always working on, either personally or for work. So definitely, I think that's a good management style for programmers. But I want to hear from our listeners.
I would agree. I think that some are cut out for that and some may not be. And maybe you've gotten very lucky. Have you had any that you've felt have struggled in that type of environment?
I've been blessed that I can actually see how that would be a struggle because I am very much a hands-off person. I just am. I am a visionary. I don't think that's normal management. Normal management is here's your task for the day, and I'm going to be on top of you until that task is done. But I also in higher ed don't bill by the hour. I just need the project done. So there's a big difference if you're working for an integrator or something, or you're working for a manufacturer where your job is to put something out and get this dev deployment out. Well, they're counting how many minutes it's taking you to do that, right? That costs the company something. I'm not in that situation, so I can have a little bit more freedom with that. That said, I do know we've had some student workers who we've had to, kind of let go because like, yeah, we're doing research and development. You mean you hung out at the fraternity house all night, right? But that's a rarity. And also, thankfully, the manager underneath me is the complete opposite of me, and he is on people to make sure there's deliverables. So it also is a yin and a yang, right?
I think that's actually was going to be one of my questions is, what does that look like in terms of accountability and how do you measure success?
Yeah. And I think that's the key is, to me, success is, and this sounds weird, I don't get emails of people complaining.
Which is fair.
I think it comes down to that, right? If we're providing a best-in-class service, and I'll know because, trust me, I will hear it because people love the CC, the director. Okay. I will know if we are not having problems, and I will know, and my boss will know because people love to CC the CIO, right, on stuff that doesn't even matter. So I think that's, for better or worse, it's kind of how I can look at whether or not we're on target. And also, I think it's the inspiring. When we knock something out and we bring in a new feature set, I also want to celebrate the people who did it, right? Celebrate the programmers and go, look, this is what this team just delivered. This is amazing. I remember when we ended up, bringing out our entire touchless and voice control, and we did our own kind of pre-configuration model. They created a website where you can go in and drop down, and then it pulls out, it deploys the JSON file just by selecting which model of projector and this thing, and then you select this, and well, I'm like going, that's just freaking crazy. That is awesome. That actually might be computer science 101. I have no idea. Or it may be computer science master's level. I have no idea. But I will tell you that that's cool. And I will tell you that our faculty love how you just improved their workflow and made it simple for you. So let's celebrate that,
Well, I mean, one, that's a mark of a great leader. And the second is how can we get more of those types of success stories made visible? Because I think that's really what makes this community grow and also take pride in what they do, because what you just described is not AV programming 101. It may be computer science 101, but it's not AV programming 101. And that's really where the power of programming exists. And I think that's the part that our industry doesn't appreciate as much, where we do things that actually save time, save money, create efficiency, allow you to manage when you're getting to large scale deployments, really wrap your arms around a code base versus having 500 individual programs, which I'm sure, as even for somebody who doesn't do this, you can understand the bear that would be to deal with.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And I think there is a lot of opportunities for people. I mean, I sit there and I can't help but to think about, the programmers, and to go back to what you said, the future of our industry is in traditional programming languages, right? I don't think that I don't think I'm being like controversial in saying that. I think it's taken a while for our industry to realize it, that we are no longer proprietary AV languages. And so the more we go there and share those skills and develop those skills, the better off we're going to be. Now, I don't know if average AV programmer came through not having to ever learn traditional programming, and if that means there's a change that has to come. I don't know. It's not the realm I'm in, but I think there's a lot that we can do, and that we can then show our value beyond our small circle. And I think that there's a lot of opportunity for just, from scalability to, interoperability to all of these things are more possible once we've gotten outside of the ecosystem and into what the world is actually doing and the way it's going. And I think there's a value, and I think that our industry is coming along to it. I think they're getting there, or at least it's moving that direction.
Yeah, I agree. I think our industries are starting to go that route. They're definitely dragging their heels. I always feel AV likes to dig their heels in, but we are moving that way, and I agree. I think the common computer languages is the next phase, getting out there, and the HTML5 and the Python, and using the common languages that are lightweight and can run on any device. You're not tied down to a manufacturer.
We've talked about this a bit, and if anybody knows me, you know that I've been preaching this for some time, that we have to start to break down those walls that have limited AV systems. So I couldn't be any more behind that. I do think, though, to answer your question, Joe, and I think it would be a good thing to hear from our audience, is what is your background and how did you come to being an AV programmer? Because everybody really has a different angle. Some came up the technician route, some came from IT, some came from engineering, some came from computer science, and each one of them has a different perspective. And being able to understand the true fundamentals of software development and programming from a computer science perspective, I think, is very different than learning it from any of the other ways. So I think that actually is a good point to bring up, and be curious to hear what the audience has to say about that. Well, I think that's probably a good place to end this conversation, but I'd be really glad to continue to follow the journey, Joe, of your team, and to learn, continue to hear about those successes and celebrate the programmers that you've brought on. And I think it's a testament to what programmers can bring to an organization. How could people learn more about you, learn about HETMA as well as USC and some of the things you guys are doing?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, you can find me on all the socials at Josiah Way. So at Josiah on all the socials. Of course, hetma_org for if you work in higher ed, please do reach out and connect. And then if you want to learn more about USC, it's usc.edu/spaces is our little website. You can connect or reach out to me, and I will connect you with the people who actually can speak to this rather than just me.
And you really should. I encourage it. It's if you really want to get some cool insight, please do that. James, how can people get in touch with you, learn more about what you're up to, and continue the conversation?
Oh, yeah. As always, you get me on Twitter, AV_James King. I write for the Digital Higher Ed magazine, a IT and AV column that comes out monthly. I'm on the interwebs. You'll find me.
And for me, you can reach me at Steve Greenblatt on social media. You can read about my writing on AV Network as well as my company blog at controlconcepts.net. You can also hear me on another podcast called The State of Control on avnation.tv. But mostly we would like to hear from you. So please reach out to us and let us know what you think. We enjoy changing things up here, and we want to bring you good guests, bring you good stories, and continue to speak to what is important to programmers and build this community. If you're not already aware, you can get this podcast on Apple and Google Podcasts as well as on YouTube. And we would love a comment or a share. That would mean the world to us. So please do so. And with that, this has been Ask the Programmer.